So we've moved through four different levels of evolution or waves of evolution, and now we can enter into the fifth. And it's sort of the very idea of this paper itself. Maybe it wouldn't be able to be possible if you don't have this fifth domain of evolution. And that's where evolution becomes aware of itself through the human organism. It's a super meme, if you will, one that embraces all of the other disciplines. Um, as I think this singular meme holds within it a framework to embrace all other memes, all other human ideas, but not the particulars themselves, just the whole domains, if you will. So, this idea of evolution, starting with people like Darwin and Hegel, has been changing and getting more complex, and we see it in higher forms in people like Don Beck and Kim Wilber. So, what could it mean for one to say we are in the process of understanding evolution itself? So, and I quote, evolution goes beyond what went before, but because it must embrace what went before, then its very nature is to transcend and include, and thus it has an inherent directionality, a secret impulse towards increasing depth, increasing intrinsic value, increasing consciousness. We are, in other words, beginning to understand the secret impulse that lies behind all creation, that leads to the increasing consciousness within, from matter to vital asexual life to complex life forms um, that are producing sexually in natural selection, to self-aware idea passers through culture, to evolutionary beings understanding the nature of evolution and creating the directionality of that evolutionary process through biopsychosocial cultural means. So one of the interesting aspects of the series is that it is that transdisciplinary approach, even though I myself am maybe not that skilled in chemistry, biology, physics, and so forth. So I would like you to comment on any sort of things that you think are not your issues within this. Um, I will give one more super theoretical idea. That is to say that it's, I don't know if I agree with it myself, but it's just an idea. So that if you think about, that sort of Socratic system where you have, kind of physical life to sexual life to power to kind of caring to creativity. So, so the first level of evolution we can look at is taking place in that spatio-temporal domain and obeys the primitive rules of physics. But when that's transcended, then that element can actually really fully take place in the second sort of form of evolution. So at this point, one can actually create another, but it's not really truly an individual other. It's just a singular other that's produced through yourself. But when you get into the third chakra, even though it's power centered, it's transcended the second, and so now it can do that sexual act of recreating another. And so sexual evolution through natural selection takes place, and as I said, it's in the third sort of power based. The strongest survives. That's a natural selection element. When you move into the fourth one, you have a culture. Even though they all sort of agape goes all the way down, there's always in relationship with other. But in this way, we draw deep down into history through remembrance, and we hold it up. So it's this digging down through time, and this embrace of language that allows us to carry forward and co-create evolution in this interesting way. And then when you get into the next form of evolution, there's this creativity and this co-creation of evolution through a directionality that we choose through our understanding, sort of. Because when evolution becomes aware of itself, it can better know which path it ought to take, and it has this more creative capacity than ever before. So the emphasis of evolution through the process of natural selection is only sort of that third wave, if you will, and it's power based. And because higher forms of evolution have already evolved and are present to us now, we are being sort of morally inept if we're not trying to live to the highest forms of evolution we have access to. So that's namely the fourth and the fifth waves of evolution within culture, and then within the evolution of evolution within ourselves. So our thought leaders promote this lower form of evolution, and therefore we need to push these other forms of evolution onto the world to create greater future potentials for all mankind, all humankind, all peoplekind, all sentient beings, perhaps.